Hello, this is Jerry at the movies again, and I'm continuing from the first part, for those of you who've listened to the last show, which was the Blacklisting of Leslie Hoffman by way of SAG. What I discussed in the first part of this very detailed interview that we've been going through for several months with me and Leslie Hoffman, that is, was about the blacklisting by SAG in regards to stunt persons and fighting for the rights of all stunt persons. And because she spoke out on all stunt persons and that they should all be treated equally, she had been blacklisted by SAG because she was a woman speaking out. Now, the blacklisting continues, and the focus changes a little bit, but the blacklisting still remains the same, just a little more complicated. This comes in regards to her health. As you can imagine, being a stunt woman and performing stunts results in mild brain injuries or concussions. So, after 35 years of performing stunts on big screen and on television, Leslie Hoffman suffered aches in her neck and her back, and also mild brain injuries or concussions, primarily from all the falls and fights that she had performed. At first, she filed a workman's comp claim based on continuous trauma, and then for Social Security. However, the straw that broke the camel's back came in 2003, when Leslie had the symptoms of post-concussion syndrome, an issue which many of you will find topical, particularly in regards to athletes in the NFL. And this syndrome includes lack of sleep, aches, depression, and leads quite often to a nervous breakdown. Now, Leslie Hoffman was awarded a settlement in the workman's comp case because an agreed-upon medical examiner found that 95% of her injuries were on the set and thus work-related. The federal government, SSDI, considered her permanently disabled, but the judge failed to mention that her original claim, was based on the physical injuries she had received as a stunt woman. So this ruling, though correct in some aspects, would come back to haunt her later. Now, receiving SSDI, SAG gave Leslie her SAG pension, which she was entitled to for various years of being vested as a stunt woman. Yet SAG denied her the disability health plan. Now, this is very important. This is a hidden clause in the producer SAG health pamphlet that stipulates that SAG members who suffer a career-ending injury while working on a set are entitled to health benefits. SAG denied her health benefits, and she was forced to file a lawsuit against the plan under the ERISA Act, the Employee Retirement Security Act. Now, she's been grossly overpaying on a health plan, RX plan, and dental insurance from different companies while waiting for the result of the ERISA lawsuit. Some of you will find this rather familiar in slightly different regard. Now, this is an ongoing litigation due to the SAG attorneys purposefully stretching the suit out. Now, this is not an uncommon ploy for SAG. They've done it to several staff members who were wrongfully fired due to discrimination. SAG still loses in the end, but the discriminated employer ends up with nothing because they have to pay their own attorneys that have fought in their behalf for all these years. Now, according to Leslie, in July of 2010, an appeal board of no less than 75 people, some were in attendance via satellite uplink, were present to discuss Leslie's health plan and if she should receive it. She says it was more like an inquisition of the 18 Los Angeles SAG trustees. They were either former SAG board members or SAG paid staff. Now, 5 of those SAG trustees shared a past with Leslie. 4 were ex-executive SAG board members, one being the vice president for 2 of the 4 years that Leslie served, and another member was an alternate to the executive board who had worked as a regular cast member on the Lou Grant Show, which of course starred Edward-Asner, so there's a little linkage right there. Now, the 5th member was a stuntman from the 1980s whom the executive board sent to New York first instead of the stunt board member, if you recall I mentioned that in the last show. And there was a medical expert hired by the producer, SAG Health Plan. Now, when asked by the medical expert about the paper she brought in on post-concussion syndrome, Leslie had stated that she had certain symptoms from PCS, but that she was not a qualified doctor. So the doctor's response to her in the room about post-concussion syndrome was a declarative no, followed by a vile laugh. Now keep in mind, this doctor never examined Leslie in the first place. It should also be noted that the doctor's previous employment was with Blue Cross as a vice president. The plan SAG has bought for years. Now the stuntman, who was clearly not a practitioner of medicine, let out this doozy of a precondition to Leslie, stating, "Knowing that you have congenital scoliosis, maybe you should never have been a stunt woman." Now Leslie did not have congenital scoliosis and had recent MRIs and a bone scan to prove it. Since corporations and pharmaceutical companies overrun the healthcare system, this is no surprise whatsoever. So in fact, the SAG Producer Health Plan is currently being investigated by the Department of Labor. Suffice to say, Leslie Hoffman has been blacklisted by SAG. That's it. That's all there is to say. Her last job was as a SAG stunt coordinator for a Star Trek fan film entitled Starship Farragut. Though she did it for free, it still falls under the Screen Actors Guild New Media contract. And though she is a veteran stunt woman and an advocate for all, her own price to pay for her art is being female in an actively, though not exclusively, male profession, populated by several stunt women who never get enough of the credit they deserve. Leslie has tried to tell her story to the NAACP, NOW, and ACLU, not to mention various magazines, radio shows, and newspapers, and all of them show no interest whatsoever, well, except for me and a couple of other people. Now, Leslie has recently fought for 2 other stuntmen and a stunt woman who were entitled to the SAG Disability Health Plan. Again, this is a hidden clause. She was able to get the stunt woman back money she was wrongfully charged as a reimbursement, and disability health plans for the 2 stunt men, who otherwise might not have received the plan. So they were all reimbursed. The irony is that the stunt people whom she has helped receive their health plan or reimbursement were not even required to go to the appeal board, whereas Leslie had to. So this is retaliation for her advocacy of more than 30 years. She is the resilient fighter for justice for all stunt people, and Leslie Hoffman is a voice that needs to be heard. So discrimination, loss of health care plans, disability, being a woman in, again, not exclusively a man's profession, there should be no deaf ears in her hallway, please. A story like this needs to be spread like wildfire. And I would hope it would be, but I guess we'll never, who knows what's going to happen. I do have hope for Leslie Hoffman, and I do consider her a friend. And this has been a very detailed 2-part show, and I know some of you might not fully understand it, some of you may understand it all too well. But I do believe that SAG, the largest labor union, needs to help its own people, and it does, but only certain people, not everyone who's involved in the arts, whether it's an actor, director, etc. Primarily actors, stunt people, deserve the benefits they get, particularly stunts. And it's a very dangerous profession. I don't think even Leslie would tell you otherwise. It's a very, very dangerous profession. We've heard about many accidents and deaths as a result of stunts. So let's hope Leslie Hoffman gets the help that she deserves. It's difficult to say if this story will gain more momentum or lose it. I would hope it does, for her own benefit and to understand what kind of a place SAG is. And Hollywood, as we know, has had its own share of Babylonish extremes in the past, not always being kind to its own talent. But let's hope that can change its course a little bit. Probably needs the right kind of SAG president to take care of things. Ken Howard is the current president there now. So I have hope for Leslie Hoffman. Let's hope. And that's the end of this show. Leslie Hoffman, former Hollywood stunt woman, blacklisted by SAG. And this is Jerry the Movies, signing off.